Good evening. I'm David Brinkley in Washington. South Vietnam's invasion force has now been inside Laos for a week, and it is finding the going difficult, the communist forces evasive and hard to find, and to the American air power supporting the invasion, the cost is high. 10%, or 15, of the American helicopters have been destroyed or badly damaged, 8 Americans killed, 9 wounded, and 2 missing. Red China over the weekend organized rallies of support for the communist forces and said they would do everything practical, as they put it, to end the invasion. They did not specify what was practical and what was not. This invasion, like others, has created a whole new set of refugees, people driven out of their homes and looking for somewhere to go. Many have tried to cross into South Vietnam, where they are not wanted.
These people are Brus, a small tribe from the mountains of Laos. When the South Vietnamese invaded their country, communist forces came to their village and tried to draft them into their army. The Brus refused and fled to this American position on the Laotian border. They were lucky because the North Vietnamese shot 30 others who refused to cooperate. But these survivors said that they were more afraid of American bombing. They said many of their villages had been hit, and they counted scores of dead as they made their way out of Laos. They knew now that they could never go back as long as the North Vietnamese were there, because they knew what would happen to them if they did. What they wanted now was to stay here in Vietnam, but neither the Americans or the South Vietnamese acknowledged that these people exist. Allied policy is to send them back to Laos and back to the North Vietnamese. But one American couldn't do that. He was Lieutenant Jeff Heimbuck, Civil Affairs Officer for the 1st Brigade, 5th Division. He was sent out here with orders to shove these Brus back across the border. But once he arrived and saw them, he called higher headquarters and asked his commander for help.
Lieutenant Heimbuck, what's going to happen to these people?
Well, we're not sure right now. I'm going up through G2 channels.
That's intelligence channels.
Right, intelligence channels. We're going to go up and find out whether they qualify as refugees or escapees, and I imagine that will decide whether they stay or whether they have to go back.
What's the Vietnamese government's policy in handling these people?
The Vietnamese policy is no refugees. They're not supposed to take any refugees whatsoever.
In other words, these people have to go back.
They may have to go back. I can't tell right now.
What instructions do you have from the American command in handling these people?
Same as the GVNs, no refugees.
What happens to these people if they have to go back to Laos?
Well, if these people are forced to go back into Laos, according to their leader here, their elder, they say they will probably be beheaded.
While the people waited in the dust and the sun, Lieutenant Heimbuck prodded headquarters for a decision. And it was only after he told them that an NBC News team was here that he received an answer. The Brus could stay. If Lieutenant Heimbuck hadn't been here, these Brus would have been forced to return to Laos, and for all practical purposes, that would have been their death sentence. Now they have a chance, and while they may never know it, they owe their lives to one American lieutenant who cared. Phil Brady, NBC News, on the Laotian border.
On the threats from Red China, nobody knew exactly what to make of them.